we have the required number to proceed.
Thank you, Chairperson. The 6 members, we have, sorry, Chairperson, we have 5 members. Mr. Pambo is not here. Unfortunately, we can't get hold of him. That's also Mr. Mulala that we could not get through to him. But we have 5 members, and we can proceed, Chairperson.
Okay. Now, thank you, honorable members. Would note that there would have been difficulties in getting hold of these members to check if they are logging in or not, but we have got the required number to proceed. Allow me to welcome you to this meeting of the subcommittee as decided by our main committee of communications to create a subcommittee to process matters in relation to the appointment of SABC board as a result of a vacancy that has occurred. Of course, the meeting is not expected to take quite long as it is our first meeting. I see that Honorable Mulala has now been able to also log in, so which changes the number to 6. So we've got enough numbers to still proceed. So, as I said, the honorable members, it's not meant to be a long meeting as it is our first meeting, and I take it maybe that's something to confirm that as you received the link and for this meeting, you'd have also received documentation that you would need in particular for the next meeting. However, there are a few things that would need to look at after a brief presentation from the support staff that have been handling the matters since the committee decision to proceed with the advertisements and so on in response to the referral to the committee. So they will brief us on that and where things are, applications and all that, and therefore make some decisions that we need to make to assist the process, as well as adoption of a program for the subcommittee. So those are in the main 2 items, and we should be able to conclude in that score. I do notice that you've been members and the support staff, you've been working throughout the day today, from the portfolio committee to house sitting, from there to another subcommittee. We are now in another subcommittee for others. So we would take that into account by having a focused discussion. Mr. Ngoma, I'm not sure if you are flighting an agenda so that you then we then follow that and or your presentation. Over to you, Mr. Ngoma, and your team. You'll indicate who's going to do what. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good evening to the honorable members. And Chairperson, if I could request just my colleague, Hajira, to share the SABC presentation. Chairperson,
you are muted, Mr. Ngoma. Unmute.
Hi, good evening, Chairperson. Am I audible?
We can hear you now. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Hey, Chair, my sincere apologies about that, Chairperson. Chair, as you were indicating earlier that members would have received the documents with the link, like with the MDDA, Chair, I just a few minutes ago shared the documents with the members. The intention was to share them in the committee, but I shared them just before the meeting because of the challenges, pardon me, that we experienced with the MDDA. Chairperson, this presentation is just a recap for members on the process that would have to follow as the committee in filling a vacancy on the SABC board, which arose as a result of the resignation of Ms. Benedict Muthian, who served as one of the board members. So this presentation has just been prepared to assist members. We received a letter which came to the committee through the ATC, but came originally from the Minister of Communication, and informing the committee of the resignation of Ms. Muthian, as I've indicated, and also requesting that the committee begin with the process of filling that, of recommending a candidate to fill that vacancy for the unexpired portion of Ms. Muthian's term, which ends in 2022, Chairperson. So we just looked at the Broadcasting Act. It's detailed that what is required of us as the committee in terms of these appointments. And Chairperson, amongst the things that would like the committee to consider would be the number of candidates that it would shortlist to interview for this one vacancy. And I can confidently say, after the committee had advertised in 2020, towards the end of 2020, we received a number of 69 nominations, 69 nominations for the SABC. Members would see that it is there on their emails already, the list of these of these nominations, also including the summaries of their CVs, all 69, and a link will also be shared with the members between today and tomorrow. We are just finalizing that to the full CVs of the candidates. Chairperson, one item that we often just highlight to members, which is sometimes also maybe not really clarified for some of our stakeholders who have interest in the work of this committee, is the shortlisting of the publishing of the names of the shortlisted candidates, which is a requirement in the Broadcasting Act. And as such, the committee has previously complied with that act and published the names on parliamentary papers and also through available media. So just to also, Chairperson, indicate to members that as I've indicated earlier, that we received 69 nominations. We do also, Chairperson and honorable members, receive what we consider as just normal applications, where someone would just email a CV without saying anything. And would also, members, just to remind you that when we advertise for this process, we had advertised for both the SABC and MDDA. And safe to say, honorable members, that most of those CVs would come from learners and students that are looking for either internships or experiential learning. So someone would just write on the subject of the email, internship, or a person would write experiential learning, or someone would just write job and just email a CV without any accompanying as per documentation as per the advertisement. So we do receive that, which totals to about 30. And honorable members, we discard them because they are not speaking to the process. Members will also be required in their discussions to agree on the number of candidates to be shortlisted for purposes of being interviewed. And members, later when we talk to the program of the committee, I will speak more into this third bullet point. which talks on qualification and checks. We do, of course, verify all the qualifications of shortlisted candidates, as well as doing personnel information, personnel security checks with the State Security Agency. As I indicate, as the next bullet points highlights that these are conducted with MIE, however, that is done through our human resources at Parliament. Chairperson, if I can just jump that other page, and here is what is contained in the Broadcasting Act as a requirement for us, for this committee when filling a vacancy in the SABC board. Currently, the board has 11 members, which are recommended by this committee for the appointment. The board has 15 members. However, this committee recommends 12 members, non-executive members of the board. The other 3 is the Chief Executive Officer, the Chief Financial Officer, as well as the Chief Operations Officer. And just on number 2 is what is required from the committee, which is participation by a public nomination process. We have done that. The SABC board advertisement was published in 11 official languages in various national, regional, and community newspapers, as well as being flighted on all SABC radio stations in the language of their choices. Hence, we have now received these 69 nominations. Also, there's a requirement for the names of the shortlisted candidates to be published, which will happen once the committee has agreed on a shortlisting date and has shortlisted the candidates. Those names of those candidates will be published through the parliamentary papers and other available and other forms of media. This is just a continuation explaining who should be, who will be viewed as a suitable person to serve on the board. These, as they are, they were also listed in the advertisement. This is what I just spoke to earlier on, Chairperson. This is just a chart that to show that from shortlisting, we run a parallel process of verification, as well as a State Security Agency, and also do send out an invitation to members of the public to make comments on the names of shortlisted candidates, which the committee then, when received, would then take them into consideration when deliberating on the outcome on the interviews. And obviously, as the subcommittee, we are tasked to perform this task by the portfolio committee. So whatever work that we do will report back to the portfolio committee, which will then adopt the work of this committee as the report of the portfolio committee to be tabled to the National Assembly. Chairperson, I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ngoma. Honorable members, that's a brief presentation in making us to understand the process that we are going to be engaged in. I will just check if there are clarities that members would want at this point, and thereafter we can also just discuss the part that needs our decision in terms of the number of people to be shortlisted for this vacancy. That's where we are now. May I just check if there are members who would want to be clarified on this presentation?
Chair, if I may come in, if I'm audible.
Honorable Mbele.
Mbele. Yes, Chair.
Yes,
I seem to be having a bit of an unstable Wi-Fi connection right now.
Yes, you can proceed, Honorable Mbele.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to keep my camera off because my connection is unstable. I'm connecting from my my parliamentary dongle. not my home Wi-Fi, so it's a bit sketchy. It was just two. So if I understood correctly, there'd been 69 nominations or applications received, of which 30 were ineligible or sort of unqualified, if I heard correctly. So that means we have a baseline of 39 nominations from which to determine the shortlist for interviews. Is that correct?
I take it that he would clarify, but 69, the understanding was the nominated people as sent to you, but also given an understanding that to get to that 69, please take note that there would have been the 30 that was not talking to what the advert seek to get. But as I say, Mr. Ngoma would clarify if we misinterpret that. But as I said also that please check in the emails. Those documents are also sent, including the list of nominated people and the summaries in that score. But as I say, you can come back to that. I thought if that is clarified so that you can then ask further the questions that you wanted to check, Honorable Mbele. Mr. Ngoma, it's captured correctly.
Chairperson, you are 100% correct. It is captured correctly. The number 69 is the number that the committee will then look at shortlist in terms of shortlist. So the 69, as you indicated, Mr. Mpele will also see in his email that there's 69 candidates on the list, and there's 69 CVs of 69 summaries of series of candidates. So thank you, Chairperson, you've clarified it.
Okay. Honorable Mbele, I was just trying to help on that directly so that if you had further questions built on that, it's built on clarity, unless you are covered that it was the only question you had, before I give to Honorable Kubeka.
Oh, no, Chair, I think maybe my lack of clarity is because I haven't yet caught sight of the email being referred to with that detail. So I must just check that in my inbox. Chair, I might disconnect for a bit and then come back on, because I want to switch onto my home Wi-Fi. I'm really struggling with the connection here.
All right. Now, thanks, Honorable Mbele. Honorable Kubeka.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks very much. Yeah, it will tell you, Chair, when Babu Ngoma is talking about 69, except that 30, you'll see indeed there is a need when coming to the side of our fellow South Africans on the issue of jobs. Indeed, for only one position, when all these nominees manage to apply, and then you'll see the necessity of the job. But let's also appreciate those who've managed to apply, who will see. But before I can continue, I would like just to Babu Ngoma to clarify me on the side of SABC. Are we still now act accommodating us, or we need also to go just right straight on the issues of saying be careful according to the act when coming to maybe trying to check to say at least more or less in that 69 how many numbers can we suggest, because it's only one vacancy, Chair. Is it possible for that 5, or maybe the act it's saying something, we need to just take care about the act before we can take a decision? Can I just get a clarity there, Chair? Thanks.
Mr.
Can I proceed, Chair?
Yes.
Chairperson, if I understood the honorable member correctly, is on the number of candidates that would have to shortlist as the committee, which the Act doesn't speak to that, and it is the decision of this committee on how many candidates that it wants to shortlist for this vacancy. Just Chair, to also indicate to the honorable member that I was just emphasizing on the issue of the publishing of names of the shortlisted candidates when I specifically referred to the Act. So the number of candidates to be shortlisted, it will be a decision of the committee. There's nothing binding on how many candidates can the committee shortlist for a vacancy or for vacancies. Thank you, Chairperson. I hope I've clarified the honorable member.
Can I
clarified yet? Then you can continue. Yes.
Okay. Yes, Chair. You clarified me. I was just trying to check with the committee to say, is it proper also maybe here also just to earmark those 5, because it's only one a vacancy, instead of having maybe 10 or 15. Is just a proposal or a suggestion that I'm putting on the table, Chair. Thanks.
Chair?
Is that Honorable Faku?
Yes, Chair.
Then proceed.
Chair, I don't know. In our last interviews, you proposed that we look at the skills that are needed at these entities. I don't know if you want to follow the same procedure before we come maybe to the number. Oh, I just wanted to check that. Thank you.
No, thank you, Honorable Faku. I think, as I said, maybe from the documentation, what we would also need, like it happens with the other boards, is to check the existing skills and what the Act says we should be looking at from the point of skills needed in a board like the SABC. So that would have to look at indeed, because then that helps the shortlisting. But in terms of the number, I think we can agree on the 5, which is the shortlisting. But what I wanted you to clarify, Tembinkosi, is I think just to put the question put by Honorable Kubeka before more proper, in addition to what she has said, would be the recommendation part. Given our experience in the other boards where a particular number would have to be recommended. Let's say if it's 4 vacancies, it's 4 people, or it's 1.5. You know, so I'm just saying so that when we look at this matter, we look at it in totality, because you've outlined the total, the process in totality. But also speak to that. I think it helps for members to apply their minds. But one other important point you're making is that for this one, it is about completion of the remainder of the term, because they need to end the term at the same time. So that will be 2022. So you can understand why I'm raising this, Honorable Kubeka, is that you're still going to sit like this next year. So I was just preparing you. Don't think you'll get old. You just need to get fit every day. It will be back here. That's cool. But I just wanted you to clarify this point for members to understand that. And if there is no objection on the 5, at least we would know that we are working on 5. It's 1 vacancy for shortlisting. Maybe before you respond, Honorable Mlala, you want to come in?
Yes.
Followed by Honorable Mel.
Yeah, thanks, Chairperson. I think you are very much correct, except to say I was going to propose that instead of us first agreeing on the number that we need to shortlist, why don't Mr. Ngoma, in the emailed reports, for instance, indicate this is what the Act requires, plus this is what we have at the SABC in terms of skills. So that if we say 5, it's also based on the material evidence in terms of CVs when we shortlist. Because if we say 5, and then the skills that are needed are 20, it will be difficult for us to exclude the 15 when we have agreed, because all of them would be qualified. So maybe what we need is to say, if Mr. Ngoma, because my email is not working, so I'm not very sure if he has sent this information, but I'm sure he will correct that if he has sent it, because we need to know which skills are currently there in the SABC, and then vis-a-vis the skills, the overall skills that are needed for the board, so that we can identify 1 or 2 skills that are missing. And then based on that, then we can agree on the number. But if we agree on the number, we might be boggled down at shortlisting time, because you may find that we have agreed on 5 and people who qualify for those skills are 10. So how are we going to then exclude the others? Rather, at that point, when we have seen all the skills, it will be easy to determine, even for Mr. Ngoma can also help us, so that we are able to say, in terms of the skills that are required, these people already have the skills that we have in the SABC. I don't know if I make sense, Chair, but that's my proposal. Thanks.
Honorable Mbele, followed by Honorable Kubek. And then I would then give Mr. Ngoma to respond.
Thank you, Chair. I think my connection is better now, so I should be better connected. Yeah, in fact, I was going to make the same points as Honorable Mulala, is that I don't yet have a sense of enough criteria to kind of measure against to then have a sense of what the number of shortlisting would be. So I think the process he's outlined seems to make sense. If we have a clearer sense of the context of the board as it is, what gaps need to be filled, ideally by this vacancy, then we can make sure that we're not overextending in interviewing too many people, but also not cutting ourselves or the process short in excluding people who might need to be given that chance. So I think that background information and the kind of analysis that was spoken to will be useful.
Honorable Kubeka, your last.
Hey, Chair. And at the end of the day, actually, indeed, we need to do justice to everyone. But as Ntate Mlala is raising those key critical issues, because indeed we know that at the end of the day, what we want to support the board with the skills that is being needed. There, nami ngiyavumelana naye 100%, but I'm saying, is he saying even if they can be 20, let's accommodate all of them, that's 20 for that position. If we are doing that, we are doing justice, I can hear. But I think it's proper also, because all these interviews, we were trying just to check and also to balance on that issue of the number. So I would never be against with whatever he is raising. But Mina, I'm saying it's only one post. So you imagine if we are supposed to interview 15 people, which are having the same criteria. But I think what it's gonna lead us also is the issue of their CVs, with whatever that we are saying. We need to have these skills in order that we must support the board. These are the necessary skills But yeah, I won't say no, I'm totally against with whatever he is saying. But I was having that suggestion of 5 chair. So there is nothing that would say I'm rigid on that. But I've seen that if you go for only one position for 10 people, I can see that it's too many, Chair. But yeah, let the committee also maybe having their inputs on that. Thanks.
Mr. Ngoma, would you want to clarify a few points that have been raised? Then we'll come back to this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, just to be exact, the appointment, the person that this committee would recommend for appointment to the board would serve until October 2022. That is when the term of Ms. Benedict Muthian would have expired as a member of the board. So, Chair, is the October 2022. And excuse me, Chairperson, unlike the ICASA Act, Chairperson, the MDDA and the SAB and the Broadcasting Act, the MDDA Act and the Broadcasting
We've lost you, Mr. Ngoma. Mr. Ngoma? I'm not sure if I'm the only one who's not hearing you.
No, it's lost. It's lost.
Good
Chair.
evening, Chair. I think I'm back again, Chair.
Okay.
My sincere apologies. I'm also experiencing some challenges here in terms of connection. Chairperson, as I was indicating that with the MDDA and the SABC, we recommend the number as per the vacancy, which means in this instance it would be a candidate, one person that would recommend for appointment to the SABC board. Chairperson and honorable members, we have prepared a document on the skills of the current 11 board members, and also which also highlights just the Ms. Muthian's skills, so that honorable members know what skill was there and that is no longer there. In terms of the number, honorable members, we summarize the CVs. We do indicate on the summaries briefly, in particular the qualifications, the occupation, and the companies the candidate has previously worked for. Excuse me, as I had indicated earlier as well, that I will also be sending a link to the full CVs of candidates. So we unfortunately do not really go into a pre-short listing for members. We open it up to members to go through the particulars of candidates, as well as that document that we will share with you honorable members on the available skills on the current board and make a determination. So yes, the number will be decided by the members as it is part of today's discussion. And yes, thank you, Chair. I hope I have responded to the members' concerns.
Chair.
If I can then take those who want to speak now. Honorable Mlala, I see you there. Honorable Machozi, are you raising your hand?
My problem is that I like my laptop is
yes, but all I'm asking is that you are raising your hand to be noted to speak.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, Chair, that it was me first.
Okay, you'll be then after Honorable Mlala. Then Honorable Mbele, I see your hand is still up. I'm not sure if that is earlier on. Okay, that's sorted now. Any other member who would want to speak at this point? Because I would want us to conclude on the first part and get to the program. Honorable Mlala.
Yeah, Chair, I'm not so sure if I understand Mr. Ngoma properly. I just need him to clarify himself further. What he's saying is that there's no qualification required for SABC board in terms of the act. So, which is making our work even more difficult, because then what will be the basis of arriving at 5 if we don't have a clear indication of what skills are required? Because I'm getting more confused after he has presented, because I thought he will say, in terms of the skills that we have at SABC, this is, he said he's going to send them, it's 5. But in terms of SABC, if there's nothing in the act, can the administration work on some form of, in relation to the work that SABC does, some form of a criteria that will help us shortlist? Because if we just say we need 5 and then we don't care what skills, so what basis are we going to use? Tomorrow we can be taken to court, and then what will be our basis for having shortlisted that those particular number of people? I don't necessarily have the problem with the number, Chair. Maybe I must clarify that part. I don't have the problem with the 5. I'm worried about what informs the 5. So if we can't deal with the first, then it will be difficult for us to deal with the second. But if the committee agrees on 5 without basis, I'll agree very cautiously that this process will be challenged. So I want a process that will not be challenged very easily. I want a process that will be clean. So if we don't have a criteria, then I get very much worried, Chair. Maybe if Mr. Ngoma can clarify, I did not understand him properly. If he clarifies that, then I'm okay.
Honorable Machozi. Honorable Machozi. You are still muted, so can hear you. Honorable Machozi.
Yes, Chair. Thank you, Chairperson. No, I in terms of the issue of shortlisting, I think we can do the process that we usually do when we do the shortlistings, and when we are done with maybe the interviews, and then for the recommendations. I hear what Honorable Mulala is saying, and maybe what we can do is maybe have on the list that is there, have about 10 or 15 that you would recommend. And then when we come back as a subcommittee, we then see the similarities of names that appear maybe in 3 or 4 members. And then that's when we will then have that short list of 5 that we will have, and maybe for the interviews. So I think it's going to help us as well, because if there's no criteria, it becomes a bit difficult, but I don't think it is difficult. If we can just, when we go through individually, so when we go through the names, and then you take about 10 or 12 names, and then the similarities then of the names that will appear in all maybe 4 or 3 members, then we take that 5 as the shortlisted, and then we go for the interviews. It's just a suggestion, Chairperson, so that we can then move with the program. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, honorable members. Maybe I may not give to Mr. Ngoma this, so that we are able to move. I do accept that honorable members were delayed. I think I've been helped to put it properly in terms of joining. But in the presentation itself, the Act guides in terms of the skills needed to be in an SABC board. and that was part of the slides presented. So that at least it's understood that we're working on the basis that the Act is already guiding the skills, and that sets the criteria of people that you are looking at. Over and above that, from the information that would be made, that's made available, which would be in your emails, honorable members, there will also be an addition in terms of who is the person that leaves the SABC and what skills that person had, so that you also understand the skill that's missing versus the skills that are existing currently in the SABC. But of course, you may also want to look at others that are available based on applications that you would have received. Determining the number of 5 per vacancy does not mean you would not be able to look at the skills that you need. But the reality of the matter is that you are filling only 1 vacancy to complete the remaining portion of the term for the SABC. In that score, yes, whilst you would want to accommodate everybody, I think it will not be because you are looking for all the skills that are put in the Act. It is about balancing what exists from what you want to acquire. And in that score, Honorable Mlala, as I say, with the clear guidance from the Act, just like it was when we were appointing the councillors for ICASA, were guided by the skills as outlined in the Act, because that will be our line of defense in the work that we do. Right, so I think even the point you are raising, Honorable Machos, comes back to the point there, that indeed we'd look at many names, but at the end, we'll have to narrow it down to what we agree to be the number that we can use to fill in the 1 vacancy. So if it's not 5, it would be 10, but there would be a number that we need to agree to that would guide then the application of mind in terms of what you are looking for from a candidate. And in any way, even if there can be 20 people who have got the qualifications, there will be other factors that you use to motivate or demotivate to get to the number that you need, which is the same thing that at the end, the 5 can all perform. But when you are to select 1, you can't select 5. You'd select 1 and there will be motivations to get to that point. So I just thought maybe Mr. Ngoma shouldn't come back to this, because that's a decision that we need to make ourselves. But I'm just reminding members that in the presentation that has been done, in one of the slides where it talks to the Act itself, the skills are outlined there, which is what will have to guide us as we do the shortlisting, that we comply to the Act. I'm not sure if it assists, because as I say, I'm appreciating this thing that the members would have been delayed in terms of joining, which is because they also attended physically in the House, some members, which is an apology that would have put beforehand, that there may be such challenges. So in that score, honorable members, I would want us to conclude this point, that we would receive the information, would look at the skills as outlined in the Act, look at what the existing skills are as per the information supplied on existing members, the 11, and also the person that was leaving, what skills were considered from a side, because you would need to look at that team as a collective, because each one of them using the skills available should complement each other to deliver on the mandate of the board. I'm just checking if that would not cover the members, because going to the next meeting, we should be guided by a number. Even if you come with 10, that you saw to be the best, but you would know that in the discussions, it will be about narrowing them down to 5, like Honorable Machos was talking to. Is that summary helping honorable members so that we get to the adoption of the program?
Chair, yes, I think there might be a way to marry the two considerations, whereby I liked the proposal from Honorable Majosi to say that as the individual members start to compare notes from their individual reviews, a common pool will then emerge, and we can keep 5 in mind as the ideal number in terms of having an efficient interview process, but then just to have the open mind that should there be a clear kind of sense or consensus that maybe the interview shortlist figure is closer to 8 or 9, and then we can accommodate that. Yeah.
Any other takers? Any other takers? Not sure if I'm not audible.
I can hear you, Chair.
Okay.
Chair, I think Mr. Maleka has something in the chat box. If maybe he can take us through to what he has written in the inbox.
Sorry, Chairperson. I think my apologies, Honorable Fagu and Chairperson. I think probably Mr. Maleka just posted to assist with a question that was raised earlier, because he's just posted what is the Section 13 of the Broadcasting Act, who speaks on the skills needed for board members. So I think that is what is just posted there, which as we had indicated earlier, it is also on the presentation that we shared with members. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, can we maybe agree and have a middle ground that says that we would work on 5 if conditions dictate that we go more than that? At least it would be because we would have looked at the criteria and the skills that are needed. If we can close it at that point.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed, Chair.
Yeah. Can we then move to the next point, please, Tim, on the program?
Thank you, Chairperson and honorable members. Chairperson, the next item would be the program, a proposed program for the subcommittee, which starts with today's meeting, and then Chairperson proceeds to the meeting of next week, a proposed date of Tuesday, the 2nd of March, for shortlisting of the candidates. Members would be, as we had indicated, Chair, that members have the 99% of the documents. The only thing that we must still share with the members is the link to the full CVs of the candidates. And Chairperson, we had made a proposal of Wednesday, the 10th of March, for the interviews of shortlisted candidates. taking into consideration that immediately after the shortlisting, the verification processes will kick in, which is the state security personnel suitability checks, as well as the qualifications verifications. We had proposed, Chairperson, as I said, the 10th of March, which is 2 weeks from now, for the interviews. We've also taken into consideration that currently Parliament program is very tight, and as such, on Wednesday, the 10th, it's the House sitting is scheduled to sit until 7:30 in the evening. And we had put the time there of 6 o'clock till 10 o'clock, so that once members have agreed on the number of candidates, and maybe also proposed that we allow the House to sit finished before we proceed the interviews, so that we can revise it. But at least now we have 5 candidates, and we often allocate between 45 and an hour to 8 candidates, so we can play around time. Because we try to look at other dates, honorable members, for these interviews, such as a Thursday and a Friday. And even on those days, there's a House sitting from 2 o'clock. And unfortunately, there's no indication till what time is the House sitting. That is why then we take a risk on Wednesday, the 10th of March, than maybe scheduling the meetings for a Friday after a whole week of plenaries. So, honorable members, the interviews is Wednesday, 10 March, provisionally, and the Tuesday, the 16th of March, which is put there for the deliberations or on the outcome of the interviews. Honorable members, that date is provisional. It's also subject to the response of the Office of the House Chairperson on the committee's oversight application, which also happens on that day, is also affected with the dates of the oversight. And furthermore, besides it just being affected by the dates of the oversight, also the outcome of the state security, excuse me, honorable members, the state security agency verifications, as well as the human resources verifications. If we interview 5 candidates, we expect that the process with those 2 institutions, which I've just mentioned, will not prolong us, because unlike previously, we'll not maybe looking at 20 candidates. For an example, with the MDDA, we'll be looking, which we looked at. With this one, we'll probably be looking at verifying about 5 candidates, so that we hope that we will be able to meet the date, the Tuesday, the 16th, and that if the committee is not on oversight, then we would sit and meet. But if the committee is on oversight, then we'll find a date of Tuesday, the 16th, because the intention, honorable members, is also to complete this process and ensure that the vacancies are filled as soon as possible. But of course, with the work of the committee being done, thank you, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
There is a program, honorable members. May I then take your comments on the program? I invite you to
Chair.
Participate. Is that Honorable Machos?
Yes, Chair.
You are noted. May I also get other members who want to speak to the program?
Chair, I'll have a brief comment, please.
Honorable Mbele. Then Honorable Kubeka. Honorable Machozi. Honorable Falkwil Bilas.
No, thank you, Chair. I'm in support of the program. I don't have a problem with it. My problem is just one. I'm not sure about the times, but if then we finish around 12, it's fine. We are used to staying up until early hours of the morning, so it's not a problem for as long as that we will do the work that is supposed to be done, and then yeah. But I mean support of the program.
Honorable
Chair,
Mbele, you are recognized.
thank you. Yes, it was also, my initial impression was very tight timeframes, but I understand the constraints given when this first term of Parliament is going to end. So also just to indicate my willingness to be available, even if it means going into the late hours or irregular times in order to fit everything in.
Honorable Faku, then Honorable Kubeka.
Chair, I agree with the program, but I just have a proposal for the 16th. I don't know if Honorable Majosi is aware that as we are serving in other committees, I know on the 16th of March, we are doing oversight for police. Is it not possible maybe to change that date?
Okay, Honorable Faku, I think we'll be able to respond to that. In any way, it's a clashing day because we're also having, like Mr. Ngoma was saying, our proposed oversight also as the Committee of Communications looking at Gauteng and the Free State in that period. But because it is the deliberations of the outcome, we'll probably give it the time. But of course, we'll also be guided by the outcomes from SSA vetting processes. So I think there's flexibility in that score, including the part about the times for the House, because we'll have to adjust to that and manage the external people in a way that they would understand. So I just thought I should clarify. Now you are also raising that even when we look at that oversight, it's also clashing with the police one. Should help us to also plan ours better in terms of members to go out to oversight. Honorable Kubeka.
No, thanks, Chair. And I'm happy because at least we are trying to accommodate everything as we are saying. It means somewhere, somehow we will be flexible in order that we must balance. So no train smash, and also in let's try to accommodate, as we are saying, it's affecting us on this side and also these other members on other committees, Chair. But as long as we can agree to say we will be flexible in order that finally we must do our job on to make justice on the side of these interviews. No problem, Chair. I will support the issue of the program. Thank you.
Thank you, honorable members. I take it that even as members would have asked the questions, they started from a point that the program is supported. Of course, the adjustments will have to take into account the practicalities. So the program is therefore agreed to, and that it would be sent to the House Chairperson's office so that they are able to also monitor the subcommittee work in relation to the referral that they've given to the committee. If that's agreed, honorable members, I must really thank you and the support team for putting up this meeting. We'll be able to meet in the next meeting where we'll be looking at the actual shortlisting. Any member who is struggling to get the documents, you can also make direct contact with Mr. Ngoma, just to make sure that you receive them on time and be able to peruse especially as it relates to a link to detailed CVs that members may also be interested in looking at the candidates in that way. With that, thanks, honorable members. This meeting stays adjourned until we meet again.
Night.
Night.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.
Night, Mr. Mackenzie. Night, Chair.
Thank you, the supporting.
Night, Miss Fako.
Chair.